Tzu Chi volunteers prepare for a flood relief distribution in Colombo, Sri Lanka. We look at the fate of private schools in Taiwan amid the declining birth rates. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. In Sri Lanka, in the aftermath of the floods in May, Tzu Chi volunteers distributed aid supplies to the affected residents in Kagao. Afterwards, they also traveled to Colombo to assess damages in preparation for another aid distribution. During the visit, the volunteers discovered that, besides the residences, a local school has also been damaged. The volunteers plan to hold activities to bring the students, teachers, and parents together as they distribute aid supplies. Here's more. This yellow mud left marks after the floodwaters receded. It's about 5 feet high, about as high as my shoulder. Visiting the disaster areas in Colombo, Sri Lanka, Tzu Chi volunteers witnessed the severe devastation caused by the flood.
All finished.
All of my belongings, including clothing, have been ruined. My daughter and father have taken temporary shelter at the school.
Go to the city school.
Besides the affected residences, local schools have also been damaged.
The oil tank leaked when it flooded and there was oil everywhere in the school. Although many people came to help clean up, we still lack resources.
We will invite all the students, teachers, and parents to interact with us in the open space of the school. We hope to share the master's teachings with the students through lively activities.
Besides preparing for another aid distribution, Tzu Chi volunteers also plan to bring everyone closer together through more group activities. After serious flooding in Sri Lanka, Tzu Chi volunteers have been forming alliances across countries and teaming up with local residents to help with relief distributions. From planning to execution, some local law enforcement officers in Sri Lanka have been helping every step of the way. Volunteers recently invited them to a tea ceremony to express gratitude for the officers.
This is a heartfelt performance from Tzu Chi volunteers in Sri Lanka. They are performing at a tea ceremony to express their gratitude to all the local officers and residents who assisted with aid relief distributions after the recent floods.
You donate to the so many goods, increase our people's lifestyle.
Tzu Chi, they donate our country many times. It take for application to join the Tzu Chi.
Residents here have been deeply moved by the love received from Tzu Chi. Police officers as well as local government officials have been moved to join the ranks of Tzu Chi volunteers.
I think you deliver more thoughts to our people. Work with a team and how to work as volunteers. I like to join with you.
Volunteers from Singapore, Taiwan, and Malaysia have been helping here in Sri Lanka, and they are all overjoyed to see the positive impact they have had and the encouraging response they have received from residents here. Everyone sincerely hopes that cooperation will continue long into the future.
In the Philippines, since Typhoon Pablo devastated Davao City in 2012, Tzu Chi volunteers have banded with the local residents as they carry out disaster relief. Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers from Manila held a tea ceremony in Davao City, encouraging the attendees to join Tzu Chi volunteer training. Let's take a look. 14 Tzu Chi volunteers from Manila have come to Davao City to hold a tea ceremony. The attendees know about Tzu Chi because they have been helping Tzu Chi with disaster relief work since Typhoon Pablo struck this region in 2012. This is the first Tzu Chi volunteer training session here, attended by 65 people.
Similar to you, I want to be beautiful. After I joined Tzu Chi, I felt it worthwhile to learn from Tzu Chi.
After Tzu Chi volunteers' explanations, the attendees understand Tzu Chi's mission and the meaning behind wearing a volunteer vest and uniform.
Brothers and sisters, please don't fear taking up responsibilities after listening to our talk. You must remember, wearing this uniform shows your commitment to walk the Bodhisattva path.
Despite the disciplines Tzu Chi volunteers must follow, many people choose to wear this great Tzu Chi uniform. On the next day, the youngest attendee, who's only 15, comes to the session wearing the uniform.
She joined Tzu Chi at the age of 15. However, I got to know Tzu Chi at the age of 39. See how much time I have wasted. It is her good fortune to get to know Tzu Chi at such a young age.
The attendees know how Tzu Chi volunteers have carried out the disaster relief work locally. Ms. Huang, who enjoys charitable giving, also knows how local residents appreciate Tzu Chi.
While we distributed 8,000 gifts to local residents, many people asked us whether we were from Tzu Chi. So it means that people in the Philippines have a deep impression of Tzu Chi.
These volunteers in training gladly join this big family of Tzu Chi, ready to carry out good deeds and benefit others.
In the aftermath of Typhoon Napartak, in China's Fujian province, many affected residents in 2 counties have been staying in temporary shelters and having dry food as their meals. Tzu Chi volunteers travel to cook meals and distribute rice to them. Let's take a look.
Minqing County and Yongtai County of China's Fujian province were seriously devastated by Typhoon Napartak. Local Tzu Chi volunteers surveyed the disaster areas and looked for temporary settlements for affected residents. Volunteers brought food and cookers here to prepare meals for affected residents. They know many have been waiting for this meal for a long time.
We have been having dry food as our meals since our house collapsed.
The affected residents are contented with their hot meals, including rice, vegetables, and soup.
I'm so happy I finally have the hot soup, and it is still hot enough to eat. That's great.
Meanwhile, 90 bags of rice have been delivered here by a kind-hearted person, Mr. Liu. He also joins to donate rice.
I was going to give out the rice to the affected residents. However, I saw Tzu Chi volunteers here, so I think it's better to give the rice to Tzu Chi. Tzu Chi is the most trustworthy organization.
Despite having a hard time, we can still fill our stomachs. Although we feel terrified by this disaster, all of us are safe.
The affected residents cherish the food and compassion Tzu Chi volunteers have brought them.
Recent flooding in China's Yangtze River basin caused serious damage in Hebei province. Tzu Chi volunteers from Taiwan recently made a visit to check on residents and also deliver some blankets and Jingsi folding beds to the local government.
Arriving in heavy rain, Tzu Chi volunteers are in Saidian district of China's Wuhan. They first visit an evacuation center where many families have been staying after heavy flooding in the region.
This represents peace. Every time you hear the bell ring, it's calling peace and blessings into your home. Bless you.
Experienced volunteers from Taiwan joined up with local volunteers to console residents with encouragement and love.
All the Tzu Chi family from Taiwan showed us how to act as volunteers. It really deeply impressed me. I feel I learned a lot.
On the second day of Tzu Chi's relief efforts in Hubei, in addition to visiting local residents in need, volunteers also stopped by a local government office to deliver 1,000 Jingsi folding beds and 5,000 blankets for distribution.
I represent the Taidian district government and all the residents affected by the floods when I say we have such deep gratitude for all of the love and care that the Tzu Chi Foundation has shown us.
We really hope that the Tzu Chi Foundation and the Wuhan city government can cooperate even more closely in the future, and with each other's help, spread love even further through our society.
Taiwanese volunteers' voices harmonize in song with those in Wuhan, an expression of love shared between a family that transcends geography and political boundaries.
past, Taiwan's admission rates to universities were extremely low. This situation quickly changed with the number of such universities and colleges growing to around 160. Virtually everyone is able to attend higher education. Unfortunately, many higher education facilities are now facing a critical crisis due to lower birth rates. Fears have grown to such an extent that the Ministry of Education has established a fund to protect the interests of students should their schools close. Here's more.
For 30 years, her foot has never left the sewing machine as she sews the name Taipei Municipal Jianguo High School on the shirt. However, with declining birth rates, her business has been dramatically affected.
The students have declined by about half. It's quite obvious, yes it is. Because of this, we also have to repair clothing to supplement our income.
Jianguo High School used to have 33 classes per grade, but that has all changed as a result of Taiwan's declining population. The school's strategy is now trying to lose just one class a year.
Before, in our heyday, we would have both daytime and nighttime classes. In the day, we would have 33 classes, and at night, we would have 6 classes, for a total of 39 classes.
After major reforms to university policy were made, these higher education institutes are not out of line with current demographics. Changes made to the University Act led to an increase in such institutions, from 137 in 1996 to 164 in 2007, an increase of 27. However, new enrollment in the past 10 years hasn't increased but actually decreased. The Ministry of Education estimates that the 2016 new student enrollment will be 15,500 students lower than in 2015, reaching just 250,000. By 2031, there will be a decrease of 5,000 students a year. Facing the loss of one class per year, there could be as many as 44 small national universities with less than 5,000 students.
Many people are observing the changes each year, and what we are seeing isn't allowing us to relax.
Few children will close many schools, especially private schools that were newly established or those that underwent transformation. According to Article 9 of the Private School Act, private universities that operate as if they were public institutions, namely receiving annual funding and grant awards from the Education Ministry, means that school assets still belong to the public. This means that the board of a private school cannot seek personal gain through the sale of property should the school close. This makes it difficult for private schools to exit, with one university official saying the government should amend the law allowing school boards to retrieve some of the school's assets, as there are very few people who are willing to support money-losing schools.
If the Ministry of Education doesn't relax regulations governing private universities, then in the future these private universities will encounter greater physical challenges, which will only intensify and threaten the overall education.
Once schools suspend classes and liquidate assets and sell off their land, there is nothing left of the school. To stem the tide of school closures, the Education Ministry set up a fund of $156 million to aid schools being closely watched for low enrollment.
成立这个基金最主要是第一个要确保这些退场或是说停办。
The main purpose for the establishment of this fund is to protect the interest of students and ensure they can go to other programs should their current schools close or suspend classes. It also helps assure the staff of such programs.
或是学生就学的安置啊。 然后对于教职员工也要有一个安置的措施。
The exit or transformation of schools doesn't help Taiwan's higher education. The only one it benefits is the board of directors of private schools. Students are hurt and so are teachers, and public education resources are depleted. There's no way for these assets to be reverted to public use.
Taiwan's Higher Education Union fears that the board of directors of private schools may simply close schools to take profits. It believes that these schools should go the way of public institutions and participate in a more equal distribution of resources. This would also protect Taiwan's instructors and students, 70% of which are in private institutions.
我们去看世界各国高等教育公。
We have looked at other countries and saw that the relation between public-operated higher education programs usually has to do with the country's tax base. If they can afford to add more resources, they naturally will. What is more important is the revenue from taxes, but this also means that every citizen should be able to ask about whether higher education is necessary for every citizen. This is what we should ask when we consider making Taiwan's higher education public.
可以再去思考的一个问题。
Making higher education more accessible may no longer be sustainable, as not everyone shares in the equal distribution of this limited resource. And with schools locked in a fight for survival, it's now necessary to move carefully, step by step, to determine the best use of very limited resources.
Next, we'll find out about a Kaohsiung College of Digital Contents in Pingtung that was forced to close due to low enrollment. However, in August of this year, the school grounds were reopened as the region's newest elementary school. Let's find out how a religious group has been remodeling and refurbishing the building, turning it into a private elementary school for youngsters.
This is the Kaohsiung College of Digital Contents, built in 2004. 2 years ago, in 2014, the college stopped enrolling students. It was the first vocational college in Taiwan to be shut down. And beginning this year, the structure will be repurposed as an elementary school.
These green walls and cute, colorful patterns would seem out of place if this were still an educational institution for college students. But this former technical college is undergoing lots of changes.
Even the most basic things, such as the bathroom, was changed. Besides changing the style, we had to change the size and height to suit the elementary students. The height for the sinks was changed too. The university students was much higher.
The sinks and toilets must all be adjusted in height to accommodate the incoming class of students. While the Kaohsiung College of Digital Contents was still in operation, no one would have imagined it would eventually start enrolling elementary students.
Pingtung isn't a bad location. It's actually very quaint, but it's quite far. This caused a problem for sustaining emissions, which is why we decided to turn it into an elementary school.
The current plan is for the new elementary school to teach grades 1 to 3 in a bilingual program. The school grounds cover 15 hectares, which includes a dormitory. It is a much larger campus than most elementary schools can offer, but that is a benefit this college turned elementary can offer the incoming class. And fortunately, after its financial crisis, the school will have a new life and will continue to contribute to the community.
In Indonesia, the mayor of Parliament started working with Tzu Chi after visiting a Jingsi Hall in 2015. They joined hands to build 17 houses for the impoverished residents in the 13th Ilar village. The city government and Tzu Chi held a house handover ceremony on July 4th, giving the residents new homes and new lives.
The mayor of Palembang worked together with Tzu Chi to help the 13th Ilar village after visiting Jingsi Hall in November 2015.
Palembang government is grateful to Tzu Chi because they help the government carry out programs to help impoverished residents.
After 7 months of construction, the 17 houses were officially handed over to residents 2 days before Eid al-Fitr. This resident and his wife, who have 4 children, lost their house in a fire in 2012. Living in a rented house, they do not earn enough to repair the old family home.
I hope to have a new home. I often complained about hitting my head because the ceiling in this place is so low. However, we are very grateful for Tzu Chi's assistance in repairing our house.
Meanwhile, this resident is also on the list of recipients because her dilapidated old wooden house is in danger of collapsing.
I am very happy. I hope I can live in a more comfortable house. Because this place flooded in the past, I am very grateful.
Being able to move into the clean and neat houses will allow the residents to live more comfortably. They're grateful for the wonderful gifts ahead of Eid al-Fitr.
Tzu Chi volunteers have been caring for 2 brothers in汐止, New Taipei City, for the past 4 years. Since the family lives in a house without water or electricity and the elder brother suffers mental problems, the volunteers have been hoping to help them clean up the living environment. In July, the volunteers worked together to carry out this mission.
This house hasn't been cleaned for 6 years, so Tzu Chi volunteers are mentally preparing for it.
The bathroom is dirty, but fortunately the toilet works.
As it's her responsibility to clean the bathroom, Gan Yueling will make sure it is fully cleaned.
My target is this bathroom, so if I can make it very clean, I'll feel very satisfied.
It has not been easy for Tzu Chi volunteers to help the Shen brothers, as for years the two of them have been resisting their assistance.
He feels inferior about himself. He always feels getting help from someone is very shameful. So we always try to give him encouragement and care all the time.
Gradually, the kitchen and living room widen with space as clutter is cleared out. A barber with 53 years of experience also came to give the two brothers haircuts.
I was once a laborer, so making money was my only wish. But now I am a volunteer. I discovered doing volunteer work makes me happier.
The Shen brothers did not want the volunteers to clean their bedrooms, but they were convinced by the volunteers, who feel having their entire house cleared will enable them to change their attitude and live healthy lives.
The kitchen is very clean. You can look at the bathroom. It's also very clean. You and your brother's bedrooms are also very clean.
50 volunteers from the age of 8 to over 80 sweat together to make this house clean again. They also wish the elder Mr. Shen, who became sick due to the long use of over-the-counter medicine, to see a doctor and get the help he needs.
In Malaysia, Lim Bu Kao, a Tzu Chi volunteer in Tanjung Sebat, gives rides to two physically challenged people to a recycling station every Wednesday. He hoped the interaction with others will help lift their spirit. He never expected that his gesture of kindness would achieve surprising results. Here's more.
Lim Bong King suffers from polio, and Lim Jin Kyung is deaf and mute, but they are Lim Bong Kao's helping hands when they do recycling.
I was just looking for a place for them to spend some time.
I don't have any job, so if I stay home, I will feel useless.
Lim Bong Kao drives them to this recycling station out of kindness. However, the strong will of these two handicapped people benefits everyone. Even Lim Bong Kao himself has become more attentive to details.
Because he can't hear, we can't shout, as it's useless. So we use hand gestures, and then he can understand.
One act of kindness draws more people to come to this recycling station in Tanjung Sepat, filling it with love and positive energy.
In the United States, West Virginia was devastated by a severe flood by the end of June. To help the affected residents, Tzu Chi and the local Red Cross recently joined hands to hold an aid distribution. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.